Okay, brilliant. I think we are live now. Everybody, good morning to folks across the United States, or for anybody else listening in from around the world. We welcome you from wherever you are. My name is Terry Chiplin. I'm the event director for the US Trail Running Conference. And also for this webinar series that forms part of the US Trail Running Conference umbrella. We will be recording this session, so I know we've got several folks on live now, so welcome for those here, and we'll also be saying a big welcome to thanks that we'll be recording this, so seeing the recording after that's going to be available tomorrow. So we have a very special session today. We're going to be we're very fortunate to have four race directors here who are actually going to be participating in this year's US Trail Running Conference, and also my colleague and friend Corinne Shalvoy, who's the assistant director with me for the US Trail Running Conference, and we're going to be talking. We're going to have conversations about people's experience at the conference and what they're looking forward to about the conference. But we're also going to be sharing some things about why we would love for you to be at the conference. So we're going to give you some key points about why we think you would love to be with us. So we're looking forward to sharing those with you. Before we go any further, I just want to say a big shout out to our friends and colleagues at Marathon Printing. They are the presenting sponsor both for the conference and for this webinar series. And so for those of you that don't know, Marathon Printing is a family-owned company that specializes in producing custom printed bibs for endurance sports. And race bibs are their most popular item, either custom printed or stock bibs. But they also supply vital accessories for race directors like pins, bags, and pennant flags, as well as postcards, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, and labels. Basically, I think if it's possible to print something that you're going to need for a race, then they're good folks to connect with. They have been a loyal supporter of the US Trail Running Conference since 2015 and are also an event standard partner for ATRA as well. We're very grateful to Ryan Zirk at the team of Marathon Printing for their support of this webinar series. And without their financial support for this series, then we wouldn't be able to bring you the series for free. So we've had some really great content so far this year. So big thanks to Marathon Printing. So for those of you that we're thinking that potentially several people will be listening to this that perhaps don't know anything about the history of the conference. And so I thought it might be a good opportunity to just share a little bit of background. So the US Trail Running Conference actually started in 2013. After conversations with friends and colleagues at the American Trail Running Association, we could see there was an opportunity to create a standalone conference for trail running that would help support and enhance the future direction of the sport. And we started with sponsorship from the local medical center in Estes Park, Colorado, who enabled the event to kick off in 2013. Since then, the conference has been held each year, including during COVID, 6 times in Estes Park, which is where I used to live, which was very convenient for me. Once in San Luis Obispo, California, twice in Fayetteville in Arkansas, maybe said Arizona there, and twice in Mukilteo in the Pacific Northwest. And this year will be in Knoxville, Tennessee for the first time. We have seen we've all seen continued exponential growth in the sport as many people have turned to trail running, as it combines all the benefits of physical exercise with the additional opportunity to connect with nature and each other. Between 2021 and 2023, trail running participation has soared 25.6%, which is a big chunk. So the goal for the conference is to provide an annual event for race directors, industry experts, brands, and fans of the sport to share experiences, visions, and dreams for the future of trail running. From the beginning, we have successfully gathered participants from top-tier US races, as well as grassroots and mom-and-pop events from around North America. When we share best practices and ideas, then the whole landscape shifts and we rise as one. Over the past 11 years, we have provided 1 to 3 days of jam-packed content each year. We have listened to our audience and we have evolved content that mirrors how the sport is evolving. This has included creating a theme for each conference starting in 2019. That year, DEI was our theme, and this has remained a core part of our vision for the conference, along with sustainability, moving the sport to zero carbon, helping races become safer, and creating financially viable races. The conference has been recognized as a resource for race directors with programs and content that help a race director succeed, no matter where in the country they are, who their audience is, or how large their audience is. We provide a forum that supports this goal. Also, the US Trail Running Conference in 2020 became the first running conference in North America to achieve certification by the Council for Responsible Sport. Corinne, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Terry. Yes, I'm honored to be working in tandem with Terry this year as the Assistant Events Director for the US Trail Running Conference. It's been really exciting to learn about the conference, its organic growth over the years, and just the longevity of, continuing something that's a vital resource for the community and for race directors within this space over the last, decade plus. So one thing to mention is that, it's been a focus of ours to give a voice and a seat at the table to many of the underrepresented groups and organizations in the sport. A few examples of those that we have been able to work with and partner with are United in Stride and Achilles, Born to Adapt, Black Girls Run, Black Men Run, Latinos and Latinas Run, Front Runners, and non-binary inclusion in running. I wanted to mention that this year we have also introduced a couple of enhancements or some pretty interesting new things to the conference that we're excited to share with you all. We established an advisory panel to provide valuable insights toward the selection of the key panelists and presenters to ensure that the content of the conference sessions is inclusive and educational, and actively engage personal networks to enhance participation and outreach. So this advisory committee, we'll talk about it a bit more as we go on in the call today, but it really is, a critical kind of additional arm to both Terry and myself and the others that are helping build the conference in providing information, education, and input into what the conference is going to entail. We also established a sustainability statement that can be viewed and read in detail on our website. It covers environmental, social, and economic sustainability and an inclusivity policy that makes clear what our intentions are for the conference, and that these, webinars and the conference itself that we hold is welcome to everyone and anyone. Our goal is to have every panel, kind of going back to the advisory committee, be as diverse as possible, not only in participation, but in the input into the questions that are asked during these sessions, and to represent the diversity that we would like to see in the sport, to keep consistent messaging on those issues rather than isolated sessions. So we are also providing a unique, intimate environment that facilitates connections and between participants and brands. This is something we've seen be kind of evident in response from post-event surveys, that everyone enjoys really being able to connect with and have almost one-on-one time with every other participant at the conference. The conference is not just for established race directors, it is also for anyone who is interested in creating an event, learning more about the sport in general, whether starting a race or just becoming educated on what's going on within trail running. And in that vein, we welcome all comers to join us in Knoxville, Tennessee this year.
Wonderful. Thank you, Corinne. It's been fun working with you too. It's been quite a journey this year. So really appreciate your help and assistance. Okay, so we have some some questions for our individual panelists. So we're going to work through everybody in turn. We also encourage folks to leave any comments. So yeah, we've already seen Scott Soul is out there. So thank you, Scott. Great to hear from you. And he said, Dale, I don't know if you can see this as well, but he says he likes your hat. So Scott, yes, we can see the chat. Yeah, for panelists here, then I think if you click on comments on the right-hand side, then the comments will come up and you'll see them there. So yeah, so thanks so much, Scott. Great to see you out there. So we'd like to start with Shalini. Yeah,
Hi.
Thanks, Scott. Shalini. So Shalini, maybe before I ask you any questions, could you just introduce yourself and let folks know a little bit about yourself and where you're from and kind of why you're excited to be here?
Sure. So my name is Shalini Bhajan. I have a local trainer and ultra running group here in St. Louis, Missouri, and I actually race direct 11 events. I'm a full-time race director with a few side hustles, but I've been doing this for about a little over 10 years now. And the first time I attended the US Trail Running Conference was in 2016. I was the rookie RD, rookie trail runner. And, I had 2 events that were first-year events. I was still trying to figure out where my place is in the community and where I belong. And it was really great to be at the conference. And this year, I'm actually a recipient of the grant. So I'm super excited to be back with, just the 10 years of experience and actually knowing a lot of people that are attending and being able to reconnect and figure out where the sport is going.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shalini. So 2016, so you'd have come to Estes Park.
Yes.
So yeah. So that was quite a trip for you, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you take away from the conference, and how has this helped you as a race director move you from where you were to where you are now? So what have you benefited from coming to the conference?
So back in 2016, as I said, I was still very young, very new to the sport itself. I had probably run a couple of ultras, and I had just started 2 races here in St. Louis. They were both 50K, 25K options, and at the time there were some races, but there wasn't a whole lot happening here in St. Louis. So, and I always, even today, I feel like the ultra running community at large is small and connected, but regionally we're very disconnected. So in order for me to really know what's happening in the next state over, it was like trying to figure out who the race director is, where do I go about it, talking to different people. And I mean, if you're talking getting outside of the Midwest, that was a whole another animal, So I think that was the whole reason why I had signed up and I had gone out in 2016. It also took me out of my comfort zone from being in the Midwest, and I was in Estes Park, so that was a whole other experience. And not simply networking, but also just learning what was happening. And, I picked up a lot of good information. Just to give you an example, the biggest thing for me, first thing I did when I got back was we went cupless. Sustainability was a huge component that year, and my mind was kind of blown thinking about all this stuff and how to eliminate trash and all this other things that were happening. So there was a lot of components from the conference, and also just speaking with other race directors. I still remember sitting next to Chris Thornley and Mia, and I'm trying to think, I think Greg Glencourt. So we had lunch together and just kind of talking about, the amount of experience some of these people hold is incredible. So taking that, absorbing that, and being able to bring that and incorporate that regionally to my events was huge. And this year, similarly, I'm coming back, or I'm looking forward to coming back with a lot of my own experience and struggles, and kind of trying to see where everybody else is. And because I know, again, at large, we're all dealing with the same set of issues, components, just variables are different.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Shalini. It's something that I've certainly heard a lot, that race directors can often feel like they're operating in a vacuum. So
yeah.
it is that kind of disconnection. And so, I mean, it's that's another part of the reason why I introduced these webinars, is because it actually gives us an opportunity again to kind of reconnect.
Sure.
We unfortunately can't have like 150 people panelists on the webinar, because they pretty kick me off. But yeah, it's this is a good way. But the conference is a great opportunity, isn't it, to network. And in 2016, were we 2 days or 3 days then? I can't remember now. I think
I was there, so I just kind of refresh my memory. I remember that was the year there was a lot of VO2 testing was done. I kind of remember Jeff Browning being on the treadmill. Yeah, and there were different ads. So I attended 2 days, and then I think it was or maybe I attended 1 day. I can't remember now. It was 2 days, I think. And then it was open to everybody else. It wasn't just race directors, it was open to runners. And so, yeah, so I was there for 4 or so days.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So I don't know, have you been tracking the conference in between?
I have, because I have, but again, it's just October kind of gets insane with my own races and everything else. So every time I get to it where I'm like, I'd like to attend, something comes up. So it's just been a hit or miss. But yes, I have definitely been tracking it.
Okay. I mean, how have you noticed that the conference has evolved since 2016? Have you noticed any changes on the way?
So for me, I think the biggest thing is representation. And I've noticed in inclusivity, which has, just as the sport itself is evolving, I do think the U.S. Trail Running Conference is also evolving and adapting all those measures. And again, representation matters, and being able to attend, there's not a whole lot of diversity in the sport, as Corinne mentioned. So I think it's important to have the panelists, to have race directors, to have from every different angle, to bring more people in the sport. So I feel like ultra running is one sport where you belong. So I think having that open to everybody else, doesn't matter where you come from and what your background is. And I think the Trail Running Conference has accomplished that. It's baby steps, but I think we're getting there.
Brilliant. Thank you. So last question for you, Shalini.
Sure.
Why did you decide to come back this year, and what do you see as important for yourself and other RDs that the conference creates?
The biggest reason this year was my October was a little open. I had shifted one of my events that happens in October. And when I started looking at it, I was like, oh, Knoxville, which is a lot convenient, so to speak, from where I am. And that was part of it. The other part of it was the grant, which I had applied for. And when that kind of went through, I was stoked. And there was no question that I wasn't going to attend. So that was part of the draw. And then, of course, as I mentioned, it's been 10 years. And I wanted to come back, revisit. I know a lot more race directors. I know a lot more people in the community. Just being able to reconnect with that, and I'm just looking forward to being around other people and seeing how the sport is changing and what different. Because again, 10 years, a lot has changed from when I first got in not just race directing, but also running. And I think it's important that those changes come, or across the board, not just like, oh, this race in the Pacific Northwest is doing this, so I think it's important to have that sort of bouncing ideas. All right, this is what's happening. Let's try and incorporate that into my races. So.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Sure.
Shalini, appreciate your input. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. Okay, we got some great comments on the side here. So yeah, we'd love to connect with all of you. Oh, LinkedIn. Okay, Chris, good job there. Thanks, mate. Yeah, Kim Field, I'm glad you found a way to come in. And couplers and panelists now moving towards composting apple cores, watermelon rinds, and banana peels. Yeah, anybody else doing that? Well, I'm sure there are some people doing that out there, Kim. But thank you for leading the charge. Yeah, and Scott, yeah, more running, less footprint. That's a great tagline. I love it. Okay, Dale, you're next up on the hot seat. Yeah. So Dale, this will be, and I think I'm right in saying this will be your third time at the US Trail Running Conference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you first came in Estes Park as well. I think it was maybe 2019, wasn't it?
Right.
What changes have you seen from the first time you visited in Estes Park? And what do you love about participating as a seasoned race director from a long-established race? But actually, sorry, I should get back. Introduce yourself, Dale. Let people know, for those of you that don't know who you are, then that might be helpful.
Right. Well, thanks, Terry. Thanks for inviting me. Hi, everybody. My name is Dale Garland, and it's my pleasure to direct just one race in Southwest Colorado. It's called the Hard Rock 100-mile endurance run. And I've been doing that since 1992, which was our first year. And so having seen the sport kind of change, evolve, move through its different stages and things, I think it's really, as a long established race, I think, as we've seen the sport change, I think it's really easy. It would be very easy for me to kind of say, well, this is what we did in 92 and it's not broke, so let's not fix it. So being able to interact and being able to kind of talk and learn some new things by interacting with other people involved in the sport, I think is a really positive thing. The thing, when I think of, Terry, when you asked me that question, I think about the themes and how that has evolved and how critical having a theme and then having multiple points of view and multiple ways of looking at that theme, kind of to peel away the onion, if you will, or whatever, around a theme. That's been really helpful to me, even as somebody who's been doing this for as long as I have. So I really appreciate that. And then I think, as we've already mentioned, just that the side conversations and the networking and being able to sit and talk with people at lunch or on break or whatever has been very, very helpful to me in my own directing.
Brilliant. Thank you. So do you have an example of something you have learned at the conference that you have incorporated into Hard Rock?
Yeah, three things. Three things that I can think of that either had very direct connection to the conference or possibly got me to thinking about it in a different way. The first was last year, listening to especially Ryan Montgomery talk about some of the things around LGBTQ and BIPOC and that kind of thing. And one thing that Ryan said to me that I've kind of adopted into my own management is, it's a lot of things that we do in our sport are evolutionary and they're a process, and you don't have to do a all or nothing kind of thing. And hearing Ryan say that is like, here's some things that you can do along the way to help in our, in terms of diversity and things like that. And you don't have to switch everything on the dime and being able to do that, bite off little pieces every year and work towards the greater good or the long-term goal. Was really helpful to me, because I think a lot of us think we've got to have everything, right now, right away, change everything. And hearing Ryan say that as a member of a subpopulation that he is, really kind of helped clarify that issue for me. another thing that came to mind was a conversation and listening to Tate Pullman talk about youth and things like that, especially at Hard Rock. I think it's no secret for Hard Rock that for a lot of people, it's 10, 12 years of waiting, you know, and by that they have transitioned into a different part of their life. And so learning about what the new kind of younger runners are expecting and what's important to them, I think has been really helpful for me. And so working with, like this year, we're doing a youth focus group primarily around how can we as an event kind of think about, you know, things that are important to the younger runners coming into the sport. And then finally, the last one was, I think this was an informal conversation, just one of those conversations we were having about how do you access with different user groups when you're all sharing a resource. And in our case, it's BLM and Forest Service land. And how do you manage their goals and objectives with our goals and objectives? And it got me to thinking about who are those other user groups that we interact with that may or may not have the same values we do. And so one thing I did this year that kind of came out of that conversation was I just started corresponding with the off-road trail users groups, the OHV groups, the four-wheel drive groups, and things like that. And what was really amazing to me was expecting to have to kind of either engage, defend, something like that, educate, whatever. But we found this year to be all those groups were really supportive of running and ultra running, and all we needed to do was really reach out to them. And so being able to do that was really kind of enlightening to me. And now I've got a whole bunch of allies that I didn't know I had, you know, until this year.
Exactly. They were just waiting for you to reach out.
They were just waiting. And it was easy, Terry, because all it was a couple of quick Facebook posts. Hey, we're going to be in your area. If you see a runner, you know, cheer them on. This is what they're doing. And they were like, we love it. You know, we love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? How many stories we kind of hear about that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, you know, it's the most simple things that can yield results that, you know, you had no idea. You know?
Right. Exactly.
And I'm so glad you connect with Ryan. You heard him say that because he's a visionary guy, and
he is. He really is.
I really like his way of looking at things.
Right.
I think he's quite a revolutionary guy. So so I'm glad you made that connection. Yeah. Okay. What kinds of information and discussion have you seen that you know from your unique perspective to be important and helpful to races of any kind or any size? Because of course, I guess people looking at Hard Rock and thinking, okay, you know, if you can take away something,
right?
Is there something that I can take away because I'm a much smaller racer? Mm-hmm. So if you have any insights on that,
mm-hmm. Yeah, two things that came to mind, and again, these were mostly from last year when it was at Mukilteo, which that was the other thing I think about the conference is I like how the conference, even though it's a national conference, I mean, it has regional influence and regional emphasis. So moving it around kind of gives us a chance to see how different parts of the country do things, because we know that, you know, when it's on the West Coast, we're going to see more people from the West Coast just because the economics and time commitment and things like that. So having it move around, I thought was brilliant on your part. Although I'm kind of like you know, Colorado, it's like it made it easy for me to go to Estes Park, you know, every year. But
yes,
you know, the two things that you know that I learned from last year. One is, and I think we all deal with it in some form or fashion, is the rise of how do you effectively, creatively, and responsibly implement and use social media in terms of broadcasting, live streams. You know, how many times do you post? How do you post? How do you manage hashtags? Things like that. And so hearing from the Colfax Marathon was really instructive for me last year in terms of, okay, I can think about that. And he gave me some ideas in terms of marketing and things, you know, and using social media and how we're effectively using social media. The other thing that we talked about a lot was, or at least I came to the conference last year wanting to know, how do people deal with land agencies and land use issues? Because in our particular part of the world, we're loving our particular part of the world to death. And so the San Juan Mountains, beautiful as they are being used by more and more groups, and there's more and more pressure. So that kind of translates to the Forest Service and BLM, and how can I maintain relationships and educate people about responsible trail use, responsible trail etiquette, and things like that. And one of the things that came out of that was we have things during the runners briefing where we give away swag bags and stuff just to keep the energy up and things like that. I used to do it with Hard Rock Trivia, but this year I did it with, if you show me that you've done the Leave No Trace basic course and you've completed that, then your name goes into the hat for the swag bags. And that's what I used, rather than just the Hard Rock Trivia. It was more about what can I do to help further this thing around trail use and trail etiquette and trail education and things like that. And that was a conversation that I think it was Craig Thornley and I had, because we faced some of the same kinds of things with Western States and Hard Rock. Right. But I think that's something that we all do. I mean, if you have a land use, how do you ensure that the people who are giving you a land use permit are happy with what you're doing?
Yeah.
Important questions, and as you said, there's more and more pressure on that. As the sport is growing and developing, then so cool. We're going to be one of we've got a whole bunch of sessions lined up for the conference this year, but one of them is going to be about LNT instructor here. Hello, Chris. How can I help with that? So one of the sessions that we have planned this year is looking at new race formats as well. So, if it's not just about, it's making the best use of the resources that we have available to us, but that could also mean perhaps looking at new available resources, that we haven't, that are underused at this moment. So how can we do that? So, Dale, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here.
Looking forward to October. Looking forward to seeing everybody in Knoxville.
Indeed. Yeah. It's going to be great. Okay, Katie, you're next up. Okay, Katie, I'll do this the right way around this time. If you could introduce yourself first, tell folks about who you are and where you're from and why you're excited to be here.
Yeah, hi everybody. Katie Wallace. I'm the race director of the Over the Rainbow Runs. We're a 10K and half marathon trail run based in Kanab, Utah, which is about an hour east of Zion, an hour and a half east of St. George, if you know that area. Not many people know that area, which is
beautiful. It's a beautiful area, Katie. It's a beautiful area.
It really is. Yeah. And it has some really incredible trail running with almost no users. So that's one of the reasons that I created the race. So yeah, and I'm really excited to be here. This will be my first time at the trail running conference. I actually didn't know it existed until this year. This is my 4th year directing this October. And yeah, I'm just excited. It seems like a lot of great people in a great place. I love Knoxville. And it seems like there's going to be some really great sessions this year. So
cool. Yeah, exactly, Katie. Thank you. So what do you already know about the conference? So, you've obviously learned quite a lot this year. You didn't know about it before, but what have you learned about the conference so far?
Well, one of the things that really stuck out for me is, with my experience, any conference that's worth its salt has built in plenty of time for networking. And I've noticed there are lots of good windows for networking. It often is the people you meet more so than the content. So I'm really glad to see that that's built into the conference, that you're not just going to be running from session to session. There will be time to make those connections. That'll probably be the most valuable thing. And then secondly, I'm just really excited about the variety of sessions. There's best practices in all kinds of things around sustainability and inclusion and marketing and course marking. It just seems like it's a really well-balanced agenda. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Cool. Thank you. So where are you at the moment with the goals for your races? And why are you excited about creating an intentionally inclusive race environment? And that's something I've picked off your race website.
Yeah, we have 3 main goals. Number 1 is just getting people out enjoying public lands. It is a super underutilized area of Bureau of Land Management land that comes right out of the town of Kanab. It's right in my backyard. So just trying to get more people out there and enjoying it. Secondly, we raise money. We're entirely volunteer run. I don't earn any money for myself from doing this. We donate all of our proceeds to back to the local community, to a nonprofit. It's actually for children who have experienced abuse. And then the third piece, our third major goal is to create a really inclusive event. That's a really big goal of ours. It's really important to us that everyone feels welcome, that people of different ability levels, people of different socioeconomic backgrounds can access our event. And so there's a number of ways that we've tried to make our event more inclusive.
Yeah, can you just dive into a couple of ways that that you've been successful in that area, Katie?
Yeah, sure. One of the things is we have really generous cutoffs for our races. So we have a 6-hour cutoff, and that's for both the half marathon and the 10K. So people can hike our 10K, which is really great. We actually had 2 people who were in their 70s hike it, and they loved every minute of it. They're coming back this year. So that's one piece, is trying to reach people of all different athletic abilities. Secondly, we offer discounts for those that are economically in need. Anybody can just fill out a really simple form on our website that basically just says, I have need. They don't need to tell us any of their financial background. We just trust them, and we will give them a discount. Thirdly, food. It seems like a silly thing, but like, we have vegan options, we have gluten-free options, both for our like post-race meal, but also at our aid stations. We try to have a variety of things for everybody. We try to have it all very clearly marked. We train all of our volunteers on cross-contamination, those sorts of things. So I'm just trying to be inclusive in that way, because that can be a hard thing for a lot of runners that have special food needs. And then the fourth one I want to highlight, there's other things too, but the fourth one I want to highlight is that we have a non-binary and genderqueer division. We're one of the only trail races in the state of Utah to have that. And so that's a way that runners can really feel included, is to feel like they can show up with whatever gender expression is true to them.
Yeah. It still boggles my mind sometimes that, you know, you can say something like that for a state like Utah. It's a real shame, isn't it? But thank you again for leading the charge. Lastly, what are you hoping to learn from the conference? What are you hoping to take away?
Yeah, I'm excited about timing systems. We have been very, use the stopwatch. We're a very small race. Last year we had 42 participants. We've gone up each year. I think this year it's looking like we may top 50, which is exciting. But we're tiny. We're always going to be tiny. We don't want it to be some huge thing. But we definitely could professionalize our systems a little bit more, including timing systems. We've been slowly working our way through like social media marketing, and I'd love to learn a lot more about that. Volunteer recruitment is always an issue when you live in a tiny rural town, just finding people to get out there. So every year, we've been really lucky. We've had a robust group of volunteers, but every year it feels like a scramble, and maybe other race directors can relate to that. And then the other piece, Terry and I were actually just talking about this at the right before the call, that course marking is just a perennial race director issue. And so I would love to, learn the latest and greatest in course marking as well. So we don't have any lost runners, knock on wood.
That's good way to be. That's first piece of safety, is like everybody gets around, nobody gets lost. But our last webinar, so I'll make sure, Katie, that you get the link for the recording for our last webinar, because that went into course marking in some detail. So I think you'll really enjoy that.
Terry, I'll add one more thing too that I'm really excited about. I'm also excited to build a network of people that I will be able to pick their brains going forward after the conference, that I can call and be like, hey, I have this issue. Like, have you dealt with this before? How have you dealt with it? Or do you know anybody who has? I think that's going to be really helpful too.
Yeah. Good. Yes, that's a kind of reminder from me and Corinne there that we have something to share once we finish going through the conversations here with you panelists. So, Katie, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. And Amy, you're next up.
Hey. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be back. I have a small running company called The Running Kind, and we host now climate neutral events in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. We have 5 events each year. This is started in 2022. So this will be our second full year of operation. So yeah, excited to be coming back to the conference.
It's taking off, isn't it? It's you're doing great, Amy. So I think 2021, wasn't it? So in Fayetteville that we first saw you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 2024 will be your second year, and as we were talking earlier, I know you've wanted to come back in between, but haven't quite managed to make it. So, so I'm really glad that you've overcome those challenges, and we're going to see you. So how did the conference back in 2021, how did that provide the spark that ignited setting up the Running Kind? And how has the Running Kind kind of changed and evolved since then?
Yeah, so when I first came to the conference in 2021, I was a race director for Spartan Trail and a local ski resort, and the mountain running events we were hosting, I really was interested in making them carbon neutral or more sustainable. And so I had the opportunity to go to the conference and was really excited to learn about the sustainability components that were discussed in those sessions, particularly being connected with Native Energy, and Claire was at that conference, and that kind of having conversations with them about carbon offsetting and what that would look like on the back end to actually have a carbon neutral event really left me feeling like it wasn't something that was out of my realm to actually do. And I feel like, you know, those conferences or those conversations and sessions really just empowered me to feel like I could take those next steps to actually just doing it myself outside of Spartan and the ski resort, and make it a focus of the events that I wanted to host. Was that we're going to host carbon neutral events. There will be a sustainable focus, and you know, that's the main priority for me right now, and was when we started. So leaving the conference really gave me the tools to create the Running Kind. And then, I mean, in May of 2022, so it was about 6 months after the conference that we established the Running Kind and had our first race in November of 2022. Yeah. So pretty quick after that. And, you know, we only had that one race in 2022. It was a great, you know, slow build to kind of figure things out and get it started. And then last year was our first full year of hosting events. We had 4 events, and it was our first opportunity to actually apply to become climate neutral certified. And we did that through the Change Climate Project. And so that was a learning experience of like what that looks like on a professional level, and applying for that. But yeah, so now I'm excited to move forward and hopefully just keep the ball rolling and continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to hear you say the words, I realized that I could do this. You know, it's like it was within my power to start, you know, a company that was focused on being climate neutral in terms of racing. So yeah, kudos to you. What excited you about being an environmentally sustainable company dedicated to zero carbon running? And I was thinking about what Katie mentioned earlier about providing vegan food, for example. So, so I know that's something close to your heart.
Yeah, I love that. We only provide vegan food, and so I'm all about that for sure. In my adult life, I've always been very focused on climate action, and to me, it feels like a very easy group to help to educate. We're out there using the trails, enjoying the trails for our own personal benefit. So it felt like if I was going to try to make an impact and help to educate a community, that the trail running space was the space to do that. And I think it is a group that has the connection with nature already, that maybe just needs the information and education to feel passionate about protecting the ground that we're running on.
Great, wonderful, thank you. So how has the conference and the connections from it helped you become an entrepreneur and female RD in the sport of trail running?
Yeah, I mean, similar to kind of what Katie said she was looking forward to, I think when you get a group of people just in the same space with similar passions, that have a lot of ideas. I mean, obviously, if you're putting on races, you're a pretty motivated individual. So getting those people in the same room, I think, is really exciting to me. I obviously, going into the first conference, and still am very passionate about sustainability, but I'm also really excited to dive into some other topics this year as well. Similar to Katie, I think the inclusivity discussion is like top of priority for me. We do have a non-binary category as well, but you know, I need to figure out a way of getting people that are non-binary to my events. So I'm excited to kind of discuss, you know, the inclusivity piece of hosting events for sure, and to focus a little bit more outside of just tunnel vision sustainability too, because I feel like last time I was very focused on that, and I'm excited to talk about that. I always am, but yeah, excited to kind of just make those connections and get some ideas and share ideas as well. Cool,
wonderful. Amy, thank you so much as well for being here. Great to see you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in October. Yeah, appreciate you so much. All right, Corinne.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like an imposter on here because I am not a race director, but I'm honored to be on the call with this group of incredible race directors. And I think, yeah, I am kind of involved in the sport from maybe every other aspect other than race directing a little bit. I am a co-founder with my husband of our local run club called the Castle Rock Run Club. I am a coach. I co-host a podcast called Ultra Uncovered. I'm a board member for the American Trail Running Association. I lead a group called the Free Trail Femmes under the Free Trail umbrella with Dylan Bowman. And I am a runner. I'm a trail and ultra runner. Have been a runner for decades, but an ultra runner for probably about the last 6 or 7 years. So yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. Okay, Corinne, thank you. So I have a few questions for you as well. So what excites you about the conference, and also your work with brands, podcasts, live streams, and media? And what is it that you love about being a pro trail runner and a part of the Aravaipa running team? So a lot of questions in one there.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Yeah, I'll break them. I'll break them down. So the conference. What am I excited about at the conference? So I feel like I know a ton of runners in the trail and ultra world, but I don't know as many race directors. So I'm really excited to get to know the race directors at the conference. You know, I know some of them obviously from participating in races, but I think that just like every ultra runner has a story about how they got into the sport, why they do it, you know, what motivates them. I feel like all those stories exist as well with RDs, and whether they are runners as well, or, you know, just learning about kind of what inspired them to create an event, you know, why they do something so difficult that is, you know, kind of just like entrepreneurs, why they take on the challenges, like what's their why behind creating these amazing opportunities for people to experience the sport. I really look forward to learning about, you know, all of the race directors that will be in attendance. I think I also am really excited about our advisory committee and how that's going to inform the conference this year. Getting to know the individuals on that group, and you can see everyone who's involved in the committee on our website. But getting to know all of them, I've personally learned a lot about just the different perspectives on, you know, how things are viewed and experienced in trail running, and so I really look forward to how they're helping shape the conference. And yeah, I don't know. I kind of just was thinking about like races essentially are like kind of the masterpieces of the sport. And I feel like the race directors are, you know, they're the artists that are creating those canvases, that are creating those masterpieces. And just that whole analogy, it's like, I just really look forward to learning from a lot of those people this year.
Cool.
Then, yeah, the brands piece. Do you want me to go into the next question? Okay. Sure. So brands, live streams, that all of that. I think it's super interesting to just observe the interest in trail running, especially over the last few years, whether it's from, we now see athletes being sponsored by, apparel brands and not just shoe brands. So like, Janji, for example, or Lululemon sponsoring athletes in our sport. That's an exciting and new development. The global brands are doing very trail specific things, from Nike to Adidas to On. They're all segmenting and seeing the importance of trail running itself. And so they are creating, a very specific market segment. And I don't think they would be doing that unless they thought there was not only demand, but also, something there, that it's growing, that it's exciting, that people are gravitating towards it. So I also personally started working with a brand called The Feed earlier this year in January. They are a sports nutrition company, kind of an online marketplace of all sports nutrition. And they were started with the cycling and triathlon sports in mind, but with an endurance focus. So this year, investment and effort into growing into trail and ultra running specifically, not just running of any kind. I think that is significant, and it just shows that, again, when you think about endurance sports and you think about the sports that are growing in that space, trail running is at the forefront. And I think that, they also saw as a company that their values aligned with that of trail running, community involvement, participation, being a participatory sport, and just kind of growing a very unique and interesting culture is all super important to them. So it's been really cool to help build out the high performance running team for The Feed. We have a really great group of athletes, and I've loved my work with them. And then the live streaming. So I had to ping, my friend Zach Marion over at Mountain Outpost. Last year, Aravaipa, which now has the media arm of Mountain Outpost, they streamed 6 races last year. And this year they're going to be streaming 14 plus races. Whoa. So the demand for, I guess just from a fan standpoint, it's super cool to be able to share these races with people all over the world and let them see, what we're doing, what's so interesting and amazing about these events. And, I grew up in Ouray, Colorado. So to be able to commentate on Hard Rock and share the San Juans with people all over the world is that's like a dream. It's so, I keep telling people, you don't know unless you've been there, and still on a video, you can't really do it justice, but people get an idea of oh, that's what we're talking about when we talk about, the beauty of the San Juans, and to be able to share with people, Javelina 100 and the costume party and the unique atmosphere that's created at that race is just why wouldn't you want to go participate in something like that? So, yeah, I think that, of course, it's a super exciting time from a live streaming standpoint. There's so many opportunities for races to kind of share their unique attributes with a broader audience. And yeah, that's something that's also super exciting.
Cool. Wonderful. Thank you, Corinne. So yeah, we wanted to include, the conference is geared towards race directors. It's hands up, that's our major goal. But at the same time, we felt that it was going to be really important to not create an echo chamber. So we're just race directors. So we also wanted to include and invite and welcome some trail runners as well, especially trail runners who are very vocal and passionate about things like inclusivity, sustainability, zero carbon, trail access, all of these things. And so, I think it's, we've had some really great input from not only from the race directors and conversations that we've had, but also from the trail runners as well. Dale, while I think of it, you just had, was it the first time that you had live stream in terms of Hard Rock this year? Was that right? Or
second.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that whole aspect, Corinne, that you just touched on as well was, you know, something that is another growing and rapidly developing piece of the sport. And you know, we had was it 2 sessions ago? So I think it was May, our session on live streaming, and for our webinar for this series, and you know, it was interesting questions about, you know, is it possible for small mom and pop you know, pop and pop races to live stream as well. And the reality is that it to some extent, it doesn't take a huge amount of, depending on where you are and signal strengths and those kind of things,
right.
And technology. It's actually really accessible. And, you know, we're using the StreamYard platform right now. And this is our first webinar in this series where we're using StreamYard, for example. But StreamYard has a free option. You know, so it's like that piece doesn't need to cost you anything. And so then all you need really is maybe 1 or 2 volunteers to run the live stream, run the system. So right. Yeah, lots of great things to talk about. And of course, you know, Corinne, you touched on this as well, that you know, as the sport evolves and more brands, especially global brands, come in, then how do we make sure that we not only benefit, you know, the sport benefits from their involvement, but how do we make sure that we retain the values that first brought us into
right.
the sport?
Right.
How do we make sure that we hold on to what we love about trail running and why we started with the sport as well? So yeah, I mean, there's obviously been some interesting conversations about global brands and changing the nature of the sport, or, you know, bringing different things in that maybe are taking away from the values. So lots and lots of conversations. So okay, well, we have a couple of announcements for you. The first is that this is the first that anybody has heard outside of the organizing committee and the advisory committee has heard about this. So we wanted you guys to be the first to hear. We, as part of the conference before, and it's kind of been touched on to some extent by our panelists, then we've had like this informal mentorship. So it's an opportunity for race directors to sit down and to, you know, to talk with Dale or with Craig or you know, these different race directors that have got tons and tons of years of experience. So it's been working informally. What we wanted to do this year was develop a formal RD mentorship program. So we're going to be reaching out to all the race directors that are already registered. And I'm pleased to say we're up to 50 race directors already registered. So we're actually breaking records this year. And we're going to reach out to those race directors and invite them to either be, do they have resources to be a mentor, or would they like to be a mentee? So we're going to create a formal program, and we see this then, the conference will kind of be the first event that we actually have this formalized program. So to actually have networking time and that kind of thing, which will be devoted to those creating those relationships. But then past the conference, we see a vision of having regular meetings. So maybe doing an online group, that's the whole RD mentor program, and then having as many people from that program as possible meet on a regular basis, maybe once a quarter online, something like that. And then discuss through the issues, the challenges, what's going well, and those kind of things. And so kind of developing a community where race directors, it's kind of another extension of the conference, if you like. So it just maintains that momentum once we've started with the conference. But very specifically about RD mentorship. And so we're really excited about the program. So we'll be, as I said, we'll be announcing that and then inviting all the race directors that are already committed and registered. Would say though that this this mentorship program is only going to be available to people that attend the conference. So yeah, you have to be there to benefit from the program, which I think is not a huge ask. Okay.
I would also just add in that I think our intention too is that individuals could sign up to be a mentor and a mentee. Maybe you're in the middle of your RD journey and you have some things you want to share or lend to a very new or green race director, but you also want to learn from someone who has a lot more experience than you do. So you could also apply to kind of be both of those, you know, serve as both a mentor and a mentee.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Chris Cargyle. It sounds like a mastermind, Terry. Yep. I think it's probably a good description. So Scott Soul, excuse me. My biggest suggestion is to go to the conference and Velcro yourself. Actually, I'll put this up on the screen. So my biggest suggestion is to go to the conference and Velcro yourself to the pros at RD. Dale, Craig, and Steve Adholt have been very helpful for where we are today. So yeah, and Dale, you know, big thanks to you and to Craig and to Steve. And we've got Craig won't be there this year.
Right.
We will have Jason Green from Yeti Trail Runners, and some other you know, really experienced terrific folks in terms of RD background.
And Terry, could I just say, you know, and I answer Scott, and Scott, thanks for the shout out, but I think that's such a cool idea, you know. And when I was a baby RD and not knowing how to put together an aid station, I had a mentor she was invaluable, you know, and so it's kind of this idea of paying it forward and you know, not recreating the wheel that I think is really cool.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So I'm just going to switch over the ticker on the bottom. And I'm going to, okay. All right. Next announcement. Okay. We have 3 months to go until conference. I know it's kind of tomorrow, but it is the 23rd today. So we are going to, the first 10 people to register in the next 3 days can save 20% on their registration costs. And there's a code at the bottom here. You'll obviously need to go to USTrailRunningConference.com to register. Or ultrasignup.com to register. And this will apply not only to people that are watching this live now, but will also apply to people that are watching the recording as well. So Katie, Shalini, Dale, and Amy, if you know anybody that within your community that would like to benefit from this, then please feel free to share it. So, and I will share this recording with all of you guys as well on the panel, so you'll have this information, so you won't need to write this down. So yeah, we thought we'd close with a kind of big thank you to everybody for your support of the conference, and we're looking forward to a fantastic event in Knoxville. I'm really excited. We're really excited about the way things have developed this year. With Corinne's help and with the help of Nancy from the American Trail Running Association has been key, and also Susan Kendrick from Ultra Sign Up, and Ultra Sign Up have also been really helpful in terms of marketing and sharing information on the conference as well. So I'm really excited about the way things are shaping up, and the changes we've introduced, and a lot of new things to be excited about. So we're going to close off now. So thank you everybody out there for staying with us. I'm just going to check the comments here. Mike Grace. Oh, great to see you. I'm glad you made it. Joining late, excited to rewind and catch up. Yeah. Okay. All right, Scott. Yes, we will see you there as well. Look forward to it. So I'm going to end the stream now.